Right off the bat, you might be thinking that this build is a relic of the past due to its usage of the Heart of Inmost Light exotic chest piece, which many know was nerfed with the introduction to Lightfall. But with this build video, you'll quickly see why it is still the best Arc Titan option on the market. And with all of the background B-roll footage in this video coming from Grandmaster Nightfalls, the hardest activity in the game, you can guarantee that this setup will work wonders for you in absolutely any activity in all of Destiny. So kick back, relax, consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons if you love Destiny builds, and let's get started. As mentioned in the intro, this whole build revolves around the Heart of Inmost Light exotic chest piece, which many have written off after its nerf with the Lightfall patch. But if we take a closer look at the details of that nerf, it becomes quite apparent that, at least in the context of this build, Heart of Inmost Light is still functioning at its pre-nerf levels in all of the areas that matter for the Arc Titan. And later in this video, I actually have a secret Arc Titan specific trick that makes the Heart of Inmost Light absolutely crazy with this build. The two main hits that Heart took was its empowered ability regeneration timers going from 10 seconds down to 5 seconds, and its class ability regeneration rate going from 150% bonus regen per stack down to 25% per stack. What did not get touched whatsoever though is the regeneration rates for grenade and melee energy, as well as the damage bonuses granted by those stacks. Specifically, melee abilities are still hitting 10 and 20% harder for 1 and 2 stacks respectively, while grenades are still hitting for a whopping 20 and 35% bonus damage for 1 and 2 stacks respectively, meaning that the damage enhancing aspects of Heart of Inmost Light are still at their pre-nerf power levels. But surely the halved empowered regeneration time from 10 to 5 seconds and the decreased regeneration rates of the class ability specifically do hinder this build to a certain degree, right? Well, on paper, yes, but once you incorporate all of the fragments, mods, and other little tricks that we have for this build, 5 seconds of ability regeneration and 25% class ability regeneration per stack end up being more than enough to have 100% uptime on our abilities just like before, meaning that those extra 5 seconds and 125% regeneration rates that we lost out on moving to Lightfall wouldn't have been utilized in this build anyway. Now that you're sold on the fact that the Heart of Inmost Light is still a greatest of all time candidate for the Arc Titan, what abilities are we going to pair alongside its increased regeneration and damage bonuses? The main method of damage coming from the ability side of this build is the best basic Arc ability in Destiny 2, the Pulse Grenade. And with some of the aspects, fragments, and mods coming up in a moment, this multifunctional electric ball is going to be doing some serious work. Ability number 2 being fueled by the Heart of Inmost Light is our melee ability, which in my testing came down to picking between Thunderclap and Shoulder Charge. Thunderclap felt really nice initially due to its ability to easily proc the Heart of Inmost Light empowerment bonuses. However, it became very apparent very quickly that this ability struggled in higher level content, given that you need to hold still in an open location as you charge it up, giving enemies an easy window to burst you down. It is here that I decided to give Shoulder Charge a try and found incredible success thanks to its increase to general mobility and its ability to blind targets in an area around the explosion blast. Generally speaking, shoulder charging an enemy isn't the greatest idea in high level content, but since the Arc variant blinds everything near the target that you need in the face, it actually proves to be quite safe in practice. That being said, a fully charged 2-second Thunderclap ends up hitting about 4 times as hard as a shoulder charge. So the basic takeaway for the melee situation is go with shoulder charge for more movement, safety, and utility, whilst you'll want Thunderclap for a more high-risk, high-reward playstyle that offers the maximum possible damage. The final ability that will be involved in our Heart of Inmost Light loops is the newer Arc Thruster class ability, which at tier 10 resilience has an approximate cooldown of just 20 seconds. seconds. With such a short cooldown, in conjunction with Heart of Inmost Light empowered regeneration and additional methods of ability refund from our upcoming aspects, the class ability regeneration rate nerf from Heart of Inmost Light doesn't end up having any noticeable impact on this ability's uptime. Now, on its own, it's nothing crazy, simply a crafty movement tool spawned by a dodging hunter and Icarus dashing warlock's love affair, but with the mod setup we've got for this build, this ability chews a whole lot of gum and kicks a whole lot of ass. And let me tell you, we're all out of chewing gum.
What the f does that even mean?
So before this build starts kicking our butts, let's get into the aspects that really begin to unlock this build's potential, beginning with Touch of Thunder, a 2 fragment slot aspect that enhances the effects of all of our arc grenades. Since we are rolling with the pulse grenade for this build, we only care about that specific portion of Touch of Thunder, which allows our pulse grenades to generate an ionic trace when damaging an enemy every other damage tick. And since pulse grenades last on the field for 6 ticks, that means you can get up to 3 ionic traces per pulse grenade. And since ionic traces restore 12.5% ability energy to your grenade and melee, as well as 15% ability energy to your class ability, every single pulse grenade can effectively refund 37.5% grenade and melee energy and 45% class ability energy just on its own. But those values can be increased even further through the Spark of Magnitude fragment that seems appropriate to mention a little bit early right here, which allows our pulse grenades to last on the field for an extra 2 ticks for a total of 8, up from the base of 6. This means that our grenades will be able to generate up to 4 ionic traces instead of 3, resulting in each grenade being able to refund 50% grenade and melee energy and 60% class ability energy all on their own, without even factoring in the refund bonuses from Heart of Inmost Light and our upcoming mods. Now, remember back towards the beginning of the video when I mentioned that I had a secret little trick with Heart of Inmost Light that is specific to the Arc Titan? Well, that trick is made possible through our second aspect, Knockout, another 2 fragment slot aspect that increases our melee damage and melee range for 6 seconds when critically wounding a target or breaking an enemy shield. In this context, critically wounding a target means damaging it below 30% HP. Additionally, while the 6-second knockout buff is active, all basic melee attacks count as arc-powered melee hits, which means that while you have knockout, every single melee attack will trigger Heart of Inmost Light to grant a stack of empowered grenade and empowered class ability. And to keep you safe during those arc-powered melee rampages, Knockout also begins health regeneration and grants the amplified buff on every single melee kill. And please do me a huge favor and consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you didn't know about that secret Knockout and Heart of Inmost Light interaction before watching this video. So we already know that we are rocking the Spark of Magnitude in fragment slot number 1 to complement the Touch of Thunder aspect. But what other 3 fragments do we want to use to fill out this build? Well, to further enhance our grenades, we'll want to slot in the Spark of Shock to grant our grenades the ability to jolt targets, ultimately resulting in more overall damage. On top of that, we'll want to slot the Spark of Amplitude in slot 3, which while amplified, generates an orb of power when killing 2 enemies, perfect for getting a lot more supers and armor charge stacks to be used with our upcoming mods. Remember that we can become amplified by either getting arc multi-kills in general or through melee final blows thanks to Knockout. And the final fragment going into slot number 4 will of course be the Spark of Resistance for 25% extra damage resistance while near enemy targets. Now, before we talk about our everlasting armor mods, I first want to touch on the Season of the Deep seasonal mods that basically put this already strong build on steroids. But by no means are these mods necessary for this build to function beautifully on its own. So if you're watching this in a later season when these are no longer available, don't worry, this will still be one of the strongest Titan builds around town. If possible, you'll want to grab Amped Up and Thunderous Retort in column 3, Electric Armor in column 4, and Shock and Awe and Lightning Strikes Twice in column 5. Overall, these mods grant bonus amplification duration, super damage, damage resistance, grenade regeneration, and a bonus jolting effect. But even without those seasonal mods, you'll still be good to go with the core mod setup that we have for this build, beginning with firepower on the gloves to generate an orb of power on grenade final blows. You'll also want to throw Reaper on the class item as well to generate orbs of power on weapon final blows after using your thruster class ability. And using that thruster ability will actually be able to grant additional grenade energy through a copy of Bomber on the class item for grenade refund on class ability usage, and can scavenge orbs of power as well through a copy of Powerful Attraction on the class item, which automatically collects all nearby orbs of power on class ability activation. And to receive additional benefits from collecting those orbs, you'll want a copy of Recuperation on the boots for a burst of healing on orb pickup, effectively turning your thruster class ability into a movement tool that begins grenade and melee regeneration through Heart of Inmost Light, refunds a chunk of grenade energy through Bomber, and collects all orbs of power for super energy, armor charge stacks, and healing, all with the press of one button. And speaking of armor charge stacks, you'll also be able to acquire them through a copy of Elemental Charge on the boots to receive an escalating chance of becoming armor charged when scavenging ionic traces, 4 of which will be generated from every grenade that you throw. And with a copy of Stacks on the boots, any instance of receiving armor charge will be doubled to grant us 2 stacks instead of 1. To accommodate all of these extra armor charge stacks, you'll also want a copy of Charged Up on your chest to increase your max stack capacity from 3 to 4. These armor charge stacks will be utilized through Grenade Kickstart to further fuel your grenade ability uptime to deal even more damage, generate more ionic traces, and overall obliterate everything with much more frequency. And these grenades will also grant us additional benefits through Ashes to Assets on the helmet for increased super energy gains on grenade final blows, and through Bolstering Detonation on the gloves for class ability refund when dealing damage with a grenade. Absolutely perfect for creating a positive feedback loop where our grenade can refund our class ability, and vice versa through all of the exotic armor benefits and mods in this build. You'll finish things off with a Siphon mod on the helmet, Resists on the chest, and stat mods on all 5 pieces, prioritizing resilience, discipline, and intellect in that order. And as always, scroll on down to the description for a Destiny item manager link to copy everything in this build over to your Guardian with just 1 click. Whilst you can additionally use another 2 clicks to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below if you're feeling generous today and have enjoyed this build video. I'll catch you in the live stream. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.